Imagine this. You've spent decades raising your children, supporting them through every challenge, and watching them build their own lives. Now, as you approach your later years, the idea of moving closer to them seems like the perfect decision. You picture Sunday dinners, spontaneous visits, and the comfort of having family nearby whenever you need them. It feels like a dream, one where you're surrounded by love, support, and the reassurance that you won't have to face old age alone. But what if that dream doesn't turn out the way you imagined? What if, instead of feeling more connected, you feel lonelier than ever? What if the warmth of family gatherings is replaced by empty afternoons, unanswered phone calls, and a growing sense of isolation? What if, after uprooting your life to be near them, you realize that you've lost more than you've gained? For many parents, moving closer to their adult children seems like an obvious choice. It's supposed to bring security, strengthen family bonds, and ensure that you always have someone to rely on. But the truth is, this decision isn't always as simple as it seems. In fact, for many, it can be a big mistake, one that leads to disappointment, strained relationships, and even a loss of independence. Let's be real, life has changed since you were raising your kids. They're no longer children who need your guidance every day. They have careers, families, responsibilities, and their own personal challenges. While they love you, their time and energy are stretched thin. Moving closer to them doesn't automatically mean they'll have more time for you. It might actually put more pressure on both of you, creating unspoken expectations that neither side can meet. And let's not forget about your own life. When you move to a new place, you leave behind your friends, your routines, and your independence. You may expect to be part of your children's daily lives, but what happens when they're too busy? What happens when they unintentionally make you feel like an afterthought? This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about recognizing reality. The reality that moving near your children doesn't always guarantee the closeness and support you hope for. In some cases, it can even weaken relationships, turning love into obligation and visits into a chore. But here's the most important question. If moving near your children isn't always the right choice, then what is? Before you make a decision that could affect the rest of your life, it's crucial to consider the hidden downsides, the unexpected challenges, and the alternative options that might lead to a happier, more fulfilling future. In this video, we're going to explore the reality of moving closer to your kids in old age, the good, the bad, and the things no one tells you. We'll break down why so many parents regret this decision, share real-life stories, and most importantly, help you make the best choice for your future. Because your happiness in retirement shouldn't be based on proximity. It should be based on what truly brings you joy, independence, and peace of mind. So before you start packing your bags, let's take a closer look at the reality behind this decision. You might be surprised by what you discover. For many parents, the idea of moving closer to their children in old age comes from a place of love, nostalgia, and hope. You've spent years building a close bond with your kids, and as you grow older, you want to maintain that connection. The dream is simple: to be a bigger part of their lives, to share more time together, and to have the security of knowing they're nearby if you need help. It sounds perfect, doesn't it? You imagine Sunday dinners filled with laughter, impromptu visits where you spoil the grandkids, and a sense of togetherness that makes aging feel less lonely. You think about how nice it would be to have family just minutes away, ready to drop by, offer a helping hand, or simply share a cup of coffee when you need company. It's the ideal version of growing old, surrounded by loved ones, feeling needed, and staying involved in your children's lives. It's a vision built on warmth, love, and security. But what happens when reality doesn't match the dream? The truth is, life has changed, not just for you, but for your children as well. They are no longer the kids who depended on you for everything. They are adults with their own families, jobs, and responsibilities. While they love you, they also have schedules, commitments, and personal struggles that take up most of their time. What many parents don't anticipate is that moving closer doesn't always mean seeing their children more often. In fact, in some cases, it can mean seeing them even less. Think about it. When you lived farther away, visits were planned, intentional, and special. Your kids made time for you because they knew they only had a limited window to see you. But when you live nearby, there's no urgency. They assume they can visit anytime, so they don't prioritize it. Weeks or even months can go by without spending real quality time together. Even worse, your presence might feel like an obligation rather than a joy. If your children feel pressured to visit often or include you in every family event, they might start resenting the situation rather than embracing it. The closeness that was supposed to strengthen your bond might actually create tension, guilt, and distance. And then there's the question of independence, not just theirs, but yours. When you move for them, you risk sacrificing your own social life, routine, and personal happiness. You leave behind your friends, community, and familiar surroundings, placing all your emotional fulfillment in one place, your children. But what if they can't always be there? What if they get a job in another city? What if their family dynamics change? The reality is, moving near your kids in old age isn't always the guarantee of happiness and support that it seems to be. It can bring unexpected loneliness, dependency, and even strained relationships. So before making such a life-altering decision, it's important to take a step back and ask, are you moving towards something that will truly make you happy, or are you chasing a dream that may not exist? This is where many parents find themselves facing a difficult truth, one that's uncomfortable but necessary to acknowledge. In the next section, we'll break down why moving near your kids can sometimes backfire and lead to more regret than relief. It's time to uncover the hidden downsides that no one talks about. At first glance, moving closer to your children in old age seems like a practical and emotionally fulfilling decision. After all, wouldn't it be wonderful to have family nearby, ready to offer support and companionship? Unfortunately, what many parents don't realize is that this decision can sometimes lead to unexpected disappointment, frustration, and even regret. The first and most common problem is unmet expectations. When parents move closer to their adult children, they often do so with the hope of being more involved in their lives. They imagine frequent visits, regular family gatherings, and a stronger emotional connection. However, in reality, adult children lead busy, demanding lives. They are juggling careers, raising children, managing relationships, and handling daily responsibilities. Their time is limited, and as much as they may love their parents, their priority is often their own immediate family. As a result, parents who expect constant engagement may find themselves feeling neglected or unimportant. They may sit at home, waiting for a phone call or an invitation that never comes. The excitement of being nearby turns into a painful realization that proximity does not always equal closeness. In some cases, moving closer can even highlight the emotional distance between parents and their adult children, making loneliness feel even more profound. Another challenge is the shift in family dynamics. When parents live far away, visits are often cherished and intentional. Time together feels special, and both parents and children make an effort to connect meaningfully. But when parents live nearby, interactions can become more routine and even obligatory. Instead of looking forward to seeing each other, both sides may start to take the relationship for granted, or worse, feel pressure or guilt about how often they should be spending time together. This pressure can lead to resentment on both sides. Parents may feel hurt that their children aren't spending as much time with them as they expected. Meanwhile, children may feel burdened by the unspoken expectation that they must always be available. The once loving relationship can become strained, with both parties feeling frustrated and misunderstood. Beyond the emotional challenges, there's also the issue of independence. Many parents don't realize that moving closer to their children can unintentionally limit their own lives. They may give up their longtime friends, established routines, and familiar surroundings, only to find themselves socially isolated in a new environment where they depend almost entirely on their children for company. This can be a dangerous situation, as it can lead to feelings of loneliness, helplessness, and even depression. And what happens if circumstances change? What if your child gets a job in another city and has to move? What if their spouse's family requires more of their attention? What if, over time, the relationship becomes strained? Moving for your children can make you vulnerable to factors beyond your control. The hard truth is that moving closer to your kids in old age isn't always the solution to loneliness or the key to a happy retirement. In fact, in many cases, it can have the opposite effect. So before making this decision, it's important to consider these hidden downsides and ask yourself, are you making this move for the right reasons, or are you expecting something that may never happen? In the next section, we'll dive into real-life stories of parents who regretted moving closer to their children, so you can learn from their experiences before making a decision of your own. For many parents, the decision to move closer to their children in old age is made with the best of intentions. They believe it will strengthen family bonds, provide a sense of security, and create a warm, loving environment where they can spend their later years surrounded by family. But what happens when reality doesn't match these expectations? To truly understand the risks, let's explore some real-life experiences of parents who made this decision, only to realize it wasn't what they had hoped for. Story 1, we see them less than before. Margaret and John had lived in a small town for over 30 years, surrounded by close friends and a strong community. When their daughter, Sarah, had children of her own, she encouraged them to move closer so they could spend more time with their grandkids. Excited by the idea, they sold their home and moved to a city just 10 minutes away from Sarah's house. At first, it seemed like a great decision. Margaret and John babysat the grandkids occasionally and attended more family events. But as months passed, they realized something unsettling. They were seeing Sarah and her family even less than when they lived farther away. Back when visits had to be planned, Sarah would set aside entire weekends to come stay with them. Now the assumption was, we can see them anytime. But that anytime turned into someday, and weeks would pass without a meaningful visit. Margaret and John felt forgotten, lonely, and regretful. They had left behind their lifelong friends for an illusion of closeness that didn't exist. Story 2, I became the default babysitter. Linda, a retired teacher, moved across the country to be near her son, Jake, and his family. She looked forward to enjoying her retirement while having family nearby for companionship. But soon after she settled in, she noticed a shift in expectations. Jake and his wife began relying on her for frequent, last-minute babysitting. At first, she was happy to help, but over time it became overwhelming. Instead of enjoying time with her grandkids, she felt like an unpaid nanny. She hesitated to say no because she didn't want to seem ungrateful or selfish, but the constant responsibility began affecting her health and personal freedom. Her dream of a peaceful retirement had turned into a full-time job, one she never signed up for. Story 3, we moved for them, but they moved away. Frank and Susan relocated to be near their son, David, after he convinced them it would be best for their future. They sold their home, packed their belongings, and made the move, excited to start this new chapter. But just 2 years later, David's job required him to relocate to another state. He and his family moved, leaving Frank and Susan behind. Suddenly, they were alone in a city where they had no friends, no support system, and no real connection outside of their son. They had given up everything for a promise that disappeared. Feeling abandoned and lost, they faced a painful decision. Should they stay in an unfamiliar place, or should they move again, this time with nowhere to go? What these stories teach us: these real-life experiences highlight an uncomfortable truth. Moving closer to your children does not guarantee happiness, closeness, or security. In many cases, it leads to loneliness, disappointment, and a loss of independence. It's important to recognize that your children's lives are constantly evolving. Their jobs, relationships, and family dynamics will change, and their availability may not match your expectations. Moving for them puts your happiness in their hands, and that's a risky gamble. Instead of making decisions based solely on emotions, it's crucial to think critically about your own well-being, long-term independence, and overall happiness. In the next section, we'll explore alternative solutions that allow you to maintain your independence while still staying connected with your family, without sacrificing your own life in the process. By now, it's clear that moving closer to your children in old age can come with unexpected challenges and regrets. But this doesn't mean you have to give up on the idea of staying connected with your family. Instead of uprooting your life and placing your happiness in the hands of others, let's explore smarter alternatives that allow you to maintain your independence, emotional well-being, and strong family bonds, without making a decision you might regret. 1. Choose proximity wisely, but keep your own life intact. Instead of moving directly next to or into the same neighborhood as your children, consider a middle ground, a location that allows for occasional visits while still giving you space to live your own life. For example, living 1 to 2 hours away instead of just a few minutes can strike the perfect balance. It allows for planned, meaningful visits without the pressure of daily expectations. You won't feel obligated to be available at all times, and your children won't feel guilty for not seeing you constantly. This distance preserves the value of your relationship while allowing both sides to live independently. 2. Strengthen your own social circle. One of the biggest mistakes parents make when moving closer to their children is leaving behind their own community. Before making any drastic decisions, ask yourself, do I have strong friendships and local connections where I am? Am I part of any clubs, organizations, or religious communities? Will I be sacrificing my support system just to be near family? Instead of relying solely on your children for companionship, focus on building and maintaining a fulfilling social life. Join senior activity groups, take classes, volunteer, or engage in hobbies that bring you joy. The more independent and socially active you are, the less you'll feel the need to depend on your children for happiness. 3. Use technology to stay emotionally connected. Many parents worry that if they don't move closer, they'll lose their connection with their children and grandchildren. But in today's world, staying connected has never been easier. Video calls. Regular Zoom or FaceTime calls allow you to see your loved ones without needing to be physically present all the time. Group chats, family group texts, and social media updates can help you stay involved in their daily lives without feeling intrusive. Virtual activities. You can watch movies together online, play virtual games, or even join a video call for special occasions like birthdays or holidays. By embracing technology, you can maintain meaningful connections without sacrificing your own life. 4. Consider active retirement communities instead. If your primary concern is companionship and a sense of belonging, moving near your children may not be the best solution. Instead, consider an active retirement community where you can be surrounded by people in your age group who share your interests. Many retirement communities offer social events, hobby clubs, and fitness programs, on-site medical facilities, and convenient services, a built-in support system of people who understand your stage of life. This alternative provides the companionship and security you seek without relying solely on your children. And the best part? You can still visit your family whenever you want without feeling like you've sacrificed your independence. 5. Set clear expectations before making any move. If you're still considering moving closer to your children, have an open and honest conversation first. Many regrets come from unspoken expectations. Parents assume their children will visit all the time, while children assume their parents are happy living their own lives. Ask yourself, will my child actually have time for me? What do I expect from this move? More visits, more help, a closer bond. Will my presence put unintentional pressure on my child and their family? Am I making this decision out of fear of being alone, or is it truly the best choice for my happiness? Discuss these concerns openly with your children before making any final decisions. If their answers don't align with your expectations, it may be a sign that moving closer isn't the right choice. Conclusion: the key to happiness is independence. The biggest mistake many parents make is assuming their happiness in old age depends on their children. In reality, true fulfillment comes from maintaining your independence, building a strong social circle, and finding purpose outside of your family. By considering smarter alternatives, like maintaining distance while staying emotionally connected, strengthening your own community, and exploring active retirement options, you can enjoy the best of both worlds. You can still visit your children, still be part of their lives, and still share meaningful moments, without sacrificing your own identity in the process. In the next section, we'll wrap up with final thoughts and a powerful call to action to help you make the best decision for your future. After exploring the hidden risks of moving closer to your children, the emotional and psychological impact, real-life stories of regret, and smarter alternatives, it's time to step back and reflect. What is the right decision for your future? This decision isn't just about logistics. It's about your happiness, independence, and sense of purpose in your later years. The truth is, many parents assume that being physically close to their children will automatically lead to stronger relationships and greater security. But as we've seen, reality often doesn't match those expectations. The real key to happiness in old age isn't just about where you live. It's about how you live. It's about ensuring that wherever you are, you feel fulfilled, connected, and in control of your own life. Reclaiming your independence, the foundation of a happy retirement. One of the biggest fears as we age is the fear of loneliness and isolation. This fear often drives parents to believe that moving closer to their children is the only solution. But here's the hard truth. Moving near family doesn't automatically solve loneliness. In some cases, it can make it worse. Instead of relying solely on your children for companionship, consider ways to stay socially active and independent. Heavy check mark expand your social circle. Engage with people who share your interests, whether it's through senior clubs, volunteer work, or community events. Heavy check mark pursue new passions. Retirement is a perfect time to try new hobbies, travel, and explore activities you never had time for before. Heavy check mark embrace technology for connection. Stay in touch with family in ways that don't require physical closeness, whether it's video calls, group chats, or virtual game nights. Heavy check mark consider a living arrangement that prioritizes your needs. Whether it's a lively retirement community or a home in a familiar neighborhood, make sure your living situation enhances your quality of life, not just your proximity to family. The most successful and fulfilled retirees are the ones who prioritize their independence and create a strong support system outside of their children. What this means for you, a call to action. Now that you've learned about the potential downsides of moving closer to your children in old age, you may be wondering, what should I do next? Here's a simple guide to help you make the best decision for yourself. Step 1. Reflect on your true motivations. Ask yourself, am I moving because I genuinely believe it will make my life better? Or am I doing it out of fear of being alone? Am I assuming my children will always be available? Have I talked to them about realistic expectations? What aspects of my current life bring me happiness, and will I be giving those up if I move? Step 2. Talk honestly with your family. Before making any decisions, sit down with your children and have a real conversation about your expectations and concerns. Many parents skip this step, assuming their children feel the same way they do, but often that's not the case. Ask them, how often do you realistically see us spending time together if I move closer? Do you think my presence nearby would change our relationship in any way? What kind of support can I expect if I ever need help? If their answers don't align with what you're expecting, it may be a sign that moving closer isn't the best decision. Step 3. Explore other ways to stay connected. Rather than uprooting your life entirely, look for alternative ways to strengthen your bond with your family. Plan regular visits instead of moving permanently. Use video calls and messaging to stay in touch more frequently. Involve your children and grandchildren in meaningful activities when you do see them. By maintaining a healthy balance of closeness and independence, you can enjoy a strong relationship with your children without the risks of regret, resentment, or lost identity. Final thoughts: the best gift you can give your children. As parents, we often feel a deep responsibility to always be there for our children. But sometimes, the best way to preserve and strengthen your relationship isn't by moving closer. It's by allowing space for the relationship to grow naturally. Your children love you, but they also have their own lives, careers, and families to manage. By focusing on your own happiness, independence, and social fulfillment, you remove the pressure from them while also ensuring that you don't lose yourself in the process. The best gift you can give your children isn't your constant physical presence. It's your happiness and peace of mind. A parent who is fulfilled, independent, and emotionally secure is far more enjoyable to be around than one who has given up everything just to be near their kids. Your next move, what will you choose? Now the decision is yours. Will you make a choice based on expectations and emotions, or will you prioritize your long-term happiness and independence? If this video has given you something to think about, be sure to leave a comment below. Have you or someone you know faced this decision? What was the outcome? Let's open up the conversation. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future content on navigating life's biggest decisions with wisdom and clarity. Thank you for watching, and remember, your happiness is in your hands.